There's going to be some settling in that takes place in the session. So in the Senate, you'll have a new person in charge of the Finance Committee. In the House, since Chairman Pitts of Appropriations is gone, no matter what happens with the Speaker, you're going to have a new chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. And so you'll have two, man or woman, whoever it is, now working on the big, you don't go home until you get a budget item done, with a governor that we haven't dealt with before, with a comptroller, who, the comptroller sets the revenue estimate, right? And he sets, so there's some massaging that can be done with those numbers.
Will the new controller set a new revenue estimate, or will it be left over from the current?
I think there'll be a new one that we get early.
They've already been talking about those estimates, what that is.
Yeah, that's right. I got a letter from the comptroller this week with the numbers. I believe, if I understand the timing right, that'll happen early on in the session that we'll get that. So Glenn Hager will have his footprint on that, and so if he goes higher, he goes low, that affects the budget and what our constitutional spending cap is. And you got new Attorney General, new Ag Commissioner. I mean, it's just a whole lot of new faces. Right now, there's a lot of staff turnover going on. I mean, staff runs the Capitol. Let's just be honest. And so, I mean, you've got in the Lieutenant Governor's office, you've got the B team maybe perhaps working right now. Some competent, good people, but they being in staff positions they've never been in before. Same in the Governor's office, so there's just a lot of scurrying around that's happening. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. One thing that could happen very early on in the budget discussions is there's going to be some. So we're still in the budget period from the 83rd legislative session. So the state of Texas sets a 2-year budget, right? And we're still in that 2-year budget, even though the legislative session will start, right, in January. We'll still be in that period of time from the previous budget, having not set a new budget going forward for 2015 into 16-17, right? Well, there are some expenses that we are seeing that are going to pop up potentially with Medicaid that are unpaid for. Okay? A lot of us voted against the budget. We thought it spent too much in some areas and maybe didn't account for Medicaid expenses as it should. Well, guess what? Now we're hearing rumors they're going to come to us and ask us for money to pay for that. But they spent so much, it may hit up against the constitutional spending cap. So they may want to, in the House, we're hearing they're going to ask us to break the constitutional spending cap in order to make up for the shortfall that many people thought might happen. Go back to last session. You saw the largest number, in speaking of the House, you saw the largest number of Republicans vote against a Republican budget that you've seen in a long time. It was really almost probably a historic number of Republicans. It still passed. There were plenty of Democrats. All the Democrats loved it except for one. He thought it didn't spend enough. So we may run into budget trouble right off the bat. And so that will be interesting to see how that develops. So lots of turnover. Judd helped me build this. I'm not sure what it all's on this slide. So here's some of the new faces. The Senate is decidedly more conservative. We've had a number of people come in. Bob Hall, our neighbor right across the county line to the west, defeated a long-time incumbent, Bob Newell. Paul Betancourt. Paul was the tax man down in Harris County for many years. Right, so he was the Harris County Appraisal District guy, right? Tax appraisers, the tax assessor. He was the tax assessor. And he is a tax guru and very conservative. And one of the things that he's going after is property taxes. So the economy that's blessed the state has caused property values to rise. So all of a sudden, these municipalities are leaving their tax rate at the same place, but yet appraisals are coming up. So you're seeing 10% increases in property taxes in many jurisdictions. That's far beyond the income growth for a lot of people. Average folks are not seeing their paycheck grow by 10%, and yet these jurisdictions are allowing these property taxes to come on in, and I guarantee you they're maxing out their budgets to, use that money. So we want to talk about some tax reform. Paul Bettenport's already tackled some of that. It's going to be really good. Van Taylor, very conservative member of the House, ran unopposed for Senate seat. Of course, Connie Burton, you all know Connie Burton ran for the seat to replace Wendy Davis, right? That was Wendy Davis's seat. And she won, and won by a pretty good margin. Don Huffines beat John Corona, who had a less than stellar record in the Senate for a conservative, and he got beat. Brandon Creighton replacing Tommy Williams. We'll see maybe about a push. Brandon probably be a little bit more conservative. And I'm really excited about this one, last one, Charles Perry. That was my desk mate in the House. Charles and I sat this close to each other countless hours during the legislative session. He's from Lubbock. He's an accountant. God-fearing man, very sharp on the budget. He taught me a lot. He pulled out the notepad and just back of the envelope showing me stuff about the budget. And he and I got to be very close. And so I'm very, very happy. He ran in a race, an open seat. Robert Duncan from Lubbock, retired, become the Chancellor of Texas Tech, and he ran for that open seat. There were 5 people in the open race, including a very well-funded guy named Jody Arrington, who had been in administration at Texas Tech, had the backing of Karl Rove, Karen Hughes, George W. Bush, had some very typical Austin establishment help and a lot of money. Charles won that field without a runoff. 54%. He had the grassroots support, huge geographic territory. And he went to all those little towns, campaigned really hard, and he won a 5-man open seat race without a runoff. Isn't that the way it works? So,
was that the George Bush? Who was the lady you said? Karen Hughes?
Yeah, she
different
was
one? Same one?
She's his old press person and communications
really?
person. Yeah. So in the House, 27 new ones. You guys know some of these. We picked up, overall we're going to be at 98 Republicans in the House. We picked up 3 seats. Okay, so 2 Democrat incumbents got beat, and one of the Democrat, Craig Island from the Galveston area, a long-time personal injury trial lawyer down there that protected all the coastal interests from, to make sure we all subsidize their beachfront homes down there at times. Craig Island was a powerful senior Democrat. He retired from the House, and Wayne Fairclough ran for that seat as a Republican and won it. So beat 2 Democrats, and we flipped 1 seat in an open seat in the House. So it was good. We knocked out some moderate Republicans too. In many of the head-to-head races where you had a moderate Republican against a grassroots-type conservative one. Not all of them, but in the majority of the cases. And yeah, these 2, this one is San Antonio, this one's Houston area, I believe, or this one down by the coast. Those are the 2 Democrat seats that we picked up. Hispanic leaning districts, and we picked them up, beat the Democrats. So it was a good deal.
Are there very many Hispanic Democrats in the House?
Yeah, we've got a few. There are now only 7 white Democrats in the whole Texas legislature. Think about that for a second. That is really, especially in East Texas, a lot of people remember some pretty conservative Democrats being around. I can't find the conservative Democrats anywhere. You can find some that are pretty reasonable on some things, business-oriented guys, but just like many people believe that the grassroots of the Tea Party has an influence in the Republican primary, let me tell you, the hardcore progressives have a demonstrable influence in the Democrat primaries, and they pander to those bases. And I'll go back to the issue of the abortion bill that came up in front of the House and the legislature. And we're talking about banning late-term abortion here. Talking about at a point when we know the babies feel pain, they can feel touch. And, you would talk to some of those guys and you would begin to sense that they really kind of ideologically understood what we were doing and agreed. But then when you'd see them vote, they stayed with their party base. And why is that? Why is that? I think that Democrats right now very much have hard left. The activists in the Democratic Party are hard left. I'll prove that even further. Look at Wendy Davis's campaign. Are you seeing now some of the emails that are coming out, some of the consultants that were working with her campaign? One of the consultants who had, their group had been with Wendy Davis when she was a state senator, helped her win some of those races where it was a very close Republican-Democrat district, so she played more the centrist. Well, in her gubernatorial campaign, those consultants kind of got crowded out. And it was the far-left progressive agenda that shaped her campaign. So you see how that worked. But who was the fuel, who was the energy and the passion in her race? It wasn't the sort of centrist, more moderate Democrat. It was the hardcore leftists. I mean, the people that were coming from out of state, they believe in the progressive cause. It is completely foreign to what we would think of here in the state of Texas. I mean, she made her fame. What made her famous in the Democratic Party?
Filibuster.
Filibuster to defend late-term abortion.